What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Sideline Sports. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Come on in, sit down, relax. We're going to be talking Niner football. But before that, I just want to make another announcement that we will have Damon Bruce on the show next week. Super pumped to talk with him about either Niners or Warriors basketball, hopefully Niners football, because I know he is very knowledgeable when it comes to football, and I want to pick his brain about that. So anyway, guys, I don't have a date yet. I'm talking with him about when that date will be. I'm not sure when he'll be available, but stay tuned. Keep listening to the podcast, and I will give you an update on when he'll be here, and we'll promote that, and you'll see that on Facebook, X, and what else? Instagram as well. So anyway, let's get into Niners talk right now. There's a lot of players who have been cut or released or traded, and basically I understand 49er fans are going crazy about this being a complete and total rebuild, but we are not necessarily in rebuild mode yet. It's kind of a semi-rebuild mode, but we've lost a lot of players. Remember, guys, we've lost a lot of players that are not producing but making a ton of money. Getting rid of people like Debo, who was making a ton of money and not really producing and coming into camp out of shape and not putting up any numbers last year to help this team get any wins. It's just not a big deal to lose some of these players. Now, I do understand that we're dropping a lot of players that are impactful, but remember, players like Greenlaw who were hurt. He was great when he was on the field, but he wasn't on the field all the time. He was hurt quite a bit. And so even though losing him to free agency to the Broncos is not ideal, just remember he gets hurt all the time. He was hurt for most of the last year. He came in for 3 or 4 plays and got hurt again and went back out and was out for the rest of the year. So players like that, where I initially think, wow, that's a big loss, the more I think about it, I realize that he's probably going to get injured again, and it's the Broncos who are going to eat that salary when he does. So that's a good reason not to sign a guy to a huge contract, and he was asking for a lot of money. But we have a lot of players we lost, guys, but just remember, there are rookies that came in and made a huge impact last year that will carry this team into the next phase of 49er football. And just remember, when you're a team who's on top for so long, you have to come down for a little bit. And that's what's happening with the Niners. They had an opportunity to win the Super Bowl for the last 4 or 5 years, and it just didn't happen, guys. They went twice, faced the Kansas City Chiefs, and because of certain circumstances and play calling, I would say, we lost 2 of those, but we should have had them both. We should have had them both because Shanahan should have ran the ball when we were winning and drained the clock out and just suffocated the Chiefs into a loss. But they didn't do that. He is a very stubborn coach, and he wants to throw the ball. He wants to prove that his offensive system is the best, and it works no matter what. Well, it doesn't work when you don't adapt. And the problem is other teams do adapt, guys. Teams like the Chiefs adapt at halftime. They were losing, and they figured out a way to come back and score and win. They figured out a way to find a Niners weakness, and they did that. And part of it was the run stop. The Niners don't have a good run stop, so they ran on them. For one. But neither here nor there. The Niners window for a Super Bowl is not open right now, and that's okay, guys. It happens. That's part of life. Everybody who's panicking about the Niners rebuild, just remember, in a couple of years, if they draft right and they do all the right things, they will be back on top, guys. They've got 11 picks in this draft, I believe, 11 or 12. They've got 4 in the first 3 rounds. They've got the number 11 pick. They need to go out there, look for a pass rusher, look for an offensive lineman to protect Brock Purdy. Because remember, guys, all these people are getting cut for a reason, and the reason is Brock Purdy is getting that payday. And quarterbacks set the market, guys, and he's going to set the market at $50 to $55 million a year. That's just what it's going to be. And the longer he waits, the more likely the amount that he's going to get is going to go up. Because if another quarterback like Geno Smith sets the market, then Brock Purdy's going to look at that and expect that kind of money. So just keep in mind, this whole thing is happening because we're signing our franchise quarterback, and that's what just happens in the NFL. That's what happens. So they're tearing the Band-Aid off, guys, and it hurts right now. But after that, we have a long time before training camp. Just remember, we need a defensive guy to pass rush and get at the quarterback, okay? We don't have that. Nick Bosa is not living up to his contract. Matter of fact, wouldn't surprise me if he was the next domino to fall. He probably won't because of who the Niners GM is. He is very much defensive-minded, so I don't know that he'll just get rid of Nick Bosa, but I don't think he's living up to his contract the last couple of years. And if you're going to cut a big salary, that's the one you cut. He's getting paid Pro Bowl money, but he's not making Pro Bowl plays, guys. So the bottom line is that these guys are going to go. These guys are going to go. But you have offensive weapons. You have Christian McCaffrey. You have George Kittle. You have Ricky Purcell. You have Jennings. There are weapons out there, guys, okay? So don't panic quite yet. Now, if for some reason Christian McCaffrey is traded or Kittle are traded or both, then yes, you go from like a semi-rebuild to you're in total rebuild, and probably going to take a few years to get back to the top of your game. And honestly, we're about a few years away now anyway after all the cuts, I believe, because there are some valuable players that did get cut. There are some that I'm glad got cut, and there's some that I feel like, had to be cut, but unfortunately we're making plays here. But let's take a look at some of the rookies, guys. Like, I'm looking over here at the roster. Malik Mustafa is an absolute beast, okay? And he was a rookie last year. He is only going to get bigger, faster, stronger. He's scary. He's on the defense, and he can put hits on guys. That is your next superstar player on this team, guys, is right there. Malik Mustafa is just an amazing player, and he's going to be a Pro Bowler for many years to come, okay? Ricky Purcell, once he was healthy, was catching the ball. He can run crisp routes. He can catch the ball. He's fast. We don't have a fast wide receiver until him. And unfortunately, he was hurt the whole year. He only came back the last 4 games or so. But he made a mark in those last few games and showed that he can be a premier wide receiver in this league. So there you go. Ricky Purcell is going to do some things, okay, guys? Those are 2 guys right there. We're going to have to sign Purdy. There's no doubt about it. Charvarius Ward, I think, is gone. So, yeah, but we still have Fred Warner. We got D. Winters, who was playing pretty decently last year, who's going to be around. So, guys, there's players on this team that are just not lost, okay? Thank God Jake Moody is gone. I can't believe it took that long to get gone. But you still have Kittle. We have Juwan Jennings. Hufunga's gone, and that kind of sucks, but he was hurt a lot too. And let's face it, he was attracted to jumping and going after the ball quickly. He was a ball hawk, but if he missed big. So him being gone, although I like his play, he wasn't that impactful in the last year for sure because he's been hurt. But also, he tends to jump a little bit too quickly for that interception, and sometimes he gets burnt because of it. Anyway, Isaac Guerendo, guys. Isaac Guerendo is an absolute beast too. Guys, this is a running back that can be either a fullback or a running back. He's got power. He's got strength. He can run in front of Christian McCaffrey and block, or he can take some time and let Christian McCaffrey get a breath and run the ball quite a bit. He is a hard runner, not a bad guy to have on your team. Another rookie that is just got star potential all over him. So there are lots of players here, guys, that you're forgetting we still have. Jacob Cowing still has potential, and he was only a rookie. Chris Conley has potential. Jair Brown, I'm not sure if I don't want to say for sure that he's still, I don't know if he's still part of the team or not. They released so many players, guys. I'm sorry. They released so many guys. But anyway, there's a lot of guys out there on the team right now. Nick Bosa is still there, although I told you again, I'll tell you then, I'm telling you again now, he did not live up and has not lived up to that contract in a couple of years, but maybe he will. I thought Joey Bosa was coming to town. I thought that would have been a great help for Nick Bosa. I thought they would have been a great pass rushing duo. I think they would have just wreaked havoc on the NFL together, but somehow it didn't happen. I don't know if Joey Bosa was asking for too much money. I don't know what it was, but he ended up a Bill, and that's where he is now. He's playing on the Bills. So, guys, right now the big question is, how does Shanahan manage this team? Okay? Shanahan is, let's face it, he doesn't adapt well in games. If we're winning, it's great. If we're losing, there's a small percentage of the time when we come back and win those games, because at halftime when we're losing, he doesn't adapt. He fails to adapt to the game when another team has figured out your game plan. Then you got to adjust your game plan. I said this all last year, and it's going to be a thing. It's going to be a common thing, guys. He's got to be able to adjust his game plan and come out at halftime and put some points on the board and come up with new ideas on the fly to get you. All the great coaches do that, okay? All the great coaches. Harbaugh did that when he was with the Niners very well, and that's why they went to the Super Bowl. And if he was still the coach of this team, I believe he would have been to at least one more Super Bowl, maybe two, and won at least one or two of them. So, I mean, losing Harbaugh is a big deal, was a big deal, and still hurts, even though we have Shanahan, because he was the superior coach. Shanahan would be a great coach or an even better coach. He already is a great coach, but he'd be an even better coach if he just would adapt to the game. And that's the biggest problem we have right now, guys, is that he just refuses, he's too stubborn, he refuses to adapt to the game. He thinks that his game plan is just going to work magically every single time. But you got beat by Kansas City because of your stubbornness, because of your lack of willing to adapt. And that cost us 2 Super Bowls. And in my mind, that's why Shanahan maybe shouldn't be the coach long-term at this point, because now we're in rebuild. So what does that look like when you don't have your superstars available? They're going to be leaning on Kittle an awful lot this year, guys. Kittle is going to be leaned on an awful lot. McCaffrey is going to get leaned on an awful lot. Garendo is going to get leaned on. We're hoping Parcell comes to play, right? And Brandon Ayuk, we don't even know if he's going to be ready by the beginning of the year, but highly doubtful. And now he's complaining again about wanting a trade, the big baby. I can't believe he turned into this. But let's see if he can get back on time, or let's see if he can get back and make an impact. But Brandon Ayuk is a guy that who knows if he'll be a Niner by the end of this whole thing. But remember, guys, all that being said, it's early. It is early. The Band-Aid's being ripped off, and it sucks, and there's no doubt about it, but it is early, which means there's a lot of time for the Niners to go out, get pickups in free agency, make a trade if they need to. Even in the draft, they have lots of picks, right, guys? So they could even bundle some picks for some players. They need to focus on defense and offensive line, right? So you're signing that big-time valuable quarterback. You need to protect him. And if you look at how the Patriots were good for so many years, they protected their quarterback. Yes, Brady got hurt at one point, but by and large, they protected him. He didn't get hit very often. And that's what the Niners really need to focus on, is the offensive line. Traditionally, they don't do that, and I recognize that. But they've got to turn the corner and focus on that if they want to build a team for the future, because the first thing you do when you build a football team is you build from within out. That means offensive, defensive line in the trenches. Get those positions nailed down and then start building your team out. Corners, DBs, wide receivers, running backs. Those are all guys you need, but you need to start from the beginning in the defensive line and the offensive line and protecting your quarterback, giving him time to throw the football. Did you see how many star wide receivers did Tom Brady have? Not a lot. Of course, he had Randy Moss. He had some players, but most of the time, he made do with what he had. And why? Because he had time to throw the football. And if you give a quarterback who's any good time, the wide receiver can be average, because they're still going to get open. They will get open, and it happens. But you have to have a good quarterback, smart enough to be able to, and have the time to be able to make those plays and wait for a play to develop. Okay? So that's where we're at right now. I think that's where they're going to go with this. And if they don't go with offensive and defensive line, I will be at a loss after the draft. I really will. I mean, don't expect sexy picks in this draft, guys. Don't expect star wide receiver, star running back, star corner. That would not be a smart move for the Niners to do. The smart move would be defensive pass rusher if you can't get one in free agency by then. And the number 11 pick, I'm going to be honest, it's really, really close to getting a really elite defensive pass rusher at that point, right? You need to be in the top 6, 7 picks, because the quarterback depth for the draft this year is not super deep. It's not great. So teams are going to be going for other positions like corners, wide receivers, and pass rushers much sooner. If the Niners don't maybe trade down to number 7 or 6, they're still going to be. I'm not going to say they're not going to be able to get a great defensive pass rusher at that point, but if you want the best in college, you're not going to get it at 11. I don't think. I just don't think he'll be there. But guys, that's where we're at, and then they need a corner. But that's that. I think those positions are farther into the draft. The first few rounds have to be offensive linemen, defensive linemen. That's where they need to go. And if they don't prioritize offensive line, they are going to shoot themselves in the foot like they do every year. They have to prioritize the offensive line. But the number 1 pick for them in the first round, the first pick that they get, wherever that's going to be, whether it's 11 or better or worse, has got to be a pass rusher because they just can't get at the quarterback. And they need to work on the run stop, guys, because they are getting ran on like they're leaking like a sieve. They're getting ran on with no resistance whatsoever. They're not putting up a fight, and they're getting ran on. So that's what you see last year if you watch the Niners at all, is that teams were not running on them enough. If I was coaching an opposing team to the 49ers, I would just run the ball all day. I would just run it. You would see me barely pass the football because the Niners just could not stop it, no matter what. Time and time again, you could run that ball all the way down the field and score a touchdown. The only problem I would have if I was facing the Niners is running out of running backs because they get tired too quickly. That's what it would be. So there are areas they need to address. They need to address special teams, which sucked. Dumpster fire, crappy special teams last year. That's just what it was. They were crap. So they've got to look at that. But again, they've got a lot of necessity. Remember, guys, think about it. Before they released anybody, how many holes did they have to fill? They still had a lot of holes to fill. Okay? They still need another wide receiver, probably. They still need the defensive pass rusher. They still need offensive linemen. They still need a special teams that can return a football and stop somebody from returning a football, even more importantly. They need a kicker that can hit the broadside of a barn. So we've got a lot of stuff going on, guys. They are in a rebuild type situation. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say that they're in a good situation. They're not. But the bottom line is that when you have a team that's won for so many years, there has to be a downturn. And this is the downturn. And the Niners' schedule is actually very favorable. They have one of the easiest schedules in the league next year, guys. And because of that, this is a perfect time to rip the Band-Aid off and start bringing in fresh blood and making a rebuild out of this team now. It makes sense. I don't think they're going to suck next year. I don't think that. I don't believe that. They're not going to be in last place. They're still going to be very competitive. So keep that in mind. It's not like I'm sitting here saying because they're in rebuild, they're going to be absolutely trash. I don't believe that. I still think they could vie for a playoff spot or at least a wild card spot as is. Because remember, last year they were hurt all over the place, guys. That's why they were bad. They were bad because they were hurt, and two things. They were bad because they were hurt and because Kyle Shanahan had play calling that was, I don't know where it came from. He wasn't doing anything like he's done in past years. It's like he was throwing the season away before it even started. Like, okay, I'm just going to play it safe. But that's not what wins games. And it was kind of a weak way to go out last year. I didn't like it. So Shanahan, I hope he turns it around because honestly, if he doesn't this year, he should be on the hot seat. He should be gone because I'm tired of a coach that can't adapt. It's fine if you're a quarterback guru. It's great. It's great. It's awesome. He's one of the best coaches in the league, but you don't win Super Bowls unless you can adapt to the game. And he's not doing that. So anyway, guys, that's my 2 cents about the 49ers this week. We're going to talk more on the Niners and Warriors lately. We'll get into Giants tomorrow, talk about what's going on with them. We'll get into the Oakland. I say Oakland A's. I keep saying that. I mean, I can't get over it. We'll get into the Athletics tomorrow, too, and see how they're doing. They're surprisingly doing, it seems like they're going to be doing pretty well, at least for this year, just from early speculation. But don't worry. They'll blow it. Or not. I don't know. They'll probably blow it, though. Until we get a good owner who wants to actually sign good players and keep them. Not saying everybody on the A's is not a good player, but let's just face it. As soon as they get decent, they'll be gone because our owner sucks. So anyway, there's that. But guys, again, just stay here with me. Keep watching podcasts. I'll let you know when Damon Bruce will be here. Super excited with the fact that I could get him to come on my show, and very humbled by it. Can't wait for it to happen. And I'll let you know when that does as soon as he gets back to me with what days he actually has available. I reached out and let him know what days I do the Warriors and Niners podcast, so I think it's just a response as to when he's free, and I'll let you guys know. Should be a lot of fun. And until then, just remember, hard work beats talent when talent don't work. I'll keep working for you. You guys keep watching. I'll see you in the next one.